Hello, good morning, everyone. This is Lorenzo Leonardo. So today I will discuss to you my program regarding multi-threadings, socket programming here in uh, using the Windows platform. So what I did, I created my own DLL package and the main program. So I created a simple chat server. So let's first talk about the DLL that I made. So I made some classes. So we have some uh, socket server object or class and the socket. So I created objects because the server, in the server side, this is the implementation. So in Windows, this is the initialization of sockets. No? Because uh, what we will do is we want to listen to the port. So that's the job of the server. So first we will initialize, call this Windows API. So in my case, I'm using TCP IP protocol, IPv4. So here after calling WSA startup, we will resolve the local address. Okay. So in my case, I put in null because I want to get if if I will run the server in this PC, this will get the local IP address of this PC. Then after getting that, we will create a listening socket. Uh, so this is the function to listen the socket and it will return the handle. So after that, we will bind it, set up the TCP listening socket, and there it is already initialized. So that's the first step. So in my class, my design, I have the initialization and the accept function and the cleanup function. So under the accept implementation, this is where the server starts to listen some incoming connections from clients. So if a client will connect to the server, this accept will return the client socket. Then what I did, I created a class for that socket. So I name it C socket. So here, when it is good, everything is good. So I will create a new object of that specific socket and return it. Okay. So that's the purpose of this class. And I also have a cleanup for uh, after using, especially after the client will be disconnected. So this is a simple object-oriented uh, implementation of this server socket. Now in the socket, so here I created this socket since this is the object. Every time after the server listens from the client that is connecting, it will create a socket object. Okay, so inside the socket object, I have here uh, get IP address of the client, the host name of the client, and receive and send methods or functions. Okay, so here is the implementation. So regarding So since this is the socket that was created after the server's listening, so in my main program later, I will create a container of these sockets, because what we will do is to create a multiple clients, accessing the server. So in this case, this is the receive function. This receive function, uh, uh, in my implementation later in my main program, this will listen incoming messages from the client, the specific client, because we created one socket per client in that implementation later. And this is the send. So sending the server send back to the client. Okay. So here's some actually set host name. So what it did here is to create to get the host name of that client PC in here. So just setting the resolving the IP address of the client socket. So that's the main point of this. So we have this is important. So what I did, I created a listener wrapper, because I created a library so that if I will create any socket application later, I will just reuse my library, my DLL. So in my case, this is the listener, class listener. So as you can see here, this class accepts the IP address of the server, the port number of the server, or I overloaded another uh, constructor, especially if you are not assigning an IP address. So automatically it will create uh, the local IP address of that PC. So what I did, I created a callback function, because in the main application later, I will just pass the function pointer so that uh, all the implementation will be done at the application side, not in the library. So in order for my code to be more organized, and I will not code from scratch again. So actually, I coded this from scratch so that I could reuse my library, especially for sockets. So in the listener class, I have the run and stop implementation. So here, if the run is called, it will initialize the server and it will start accepting connections. So once the server listens and there is incoming connection, it will accept that connection from the client. And as you can see, I pass it to a function pointer, because the implementation of this function will be done at the main program later, so that I could easily uh, create my applications without changing my library. So that's the main point. So in my case, in the ends TCP, that's the name of my library. So I created uh, the interfaces that will be used for the main program. So here, I just name it Open Server. So this is where the TCP listener was created. So when uh, run server, this is once this is called, the TCP listener will start to listen, listen some incoming connections, run. If you can see, if you will check the run method. So here, initialize and accept. So okay, then this close connection, because the purpose of this is just for garbage collection. So that once when the client socket will get disconnected, I will clean this object, at the application part, not in the library. And close server, so the same thing. It will stop. So you can see here, stop. It will just do some cleanup here. So close socket and calling WSA cleanup. So that's the main point. So these are the interfaces. So I want to export this so that my main program we can reuse. So I exported these functions. And in the socket, since as you can see in the main program later, every time there is a new connection here. So every there is a new connection from a client, it will create a socket object, and that object is passed through the function pointer so that the implementation of this is at the main program, not in the library. So in my case, I just cast it to a void pointer so that when it reach the main program later, I will just cast it with the abstract class. So here, that is why I created an abstract class of this socket, so that in my future applications, I will just use this header file and the library that was created. So all the virtual functions the public are exported. Okay, so basically this is the point of this library. So at least there will be an organization in my source code. So we are done with the library. Let's go to the main application server. So what I did, I created a Microsoft Foundation class uh, project. Okay, so let me close this, close all. So in my Enzo chat server, so I have a dialog. This is the class of my dialog. Okay, so as you can see, I already created my GUI. So the chat area, and here, so in my case, the server can also send messages to all connected clients. So this is the monitoring. So this is the list for all the clients that are connected. So in the implementation, so as you can see, I include the .h the socket.h, a header file of my library, so that I could reuse that ns-tcp library .dll. So it's very simple. So in my implementation here, I created a global pointer of this dialog because I want to create threads here. So every time when this program is started, it will call the onInit dialog, and after that I will initialize the list that are connected in the just a copy of that list of clients that will be connecting to the server. And here I call a thread. So there is a server thread function, and I pass this dialog inside this thread. So inside this server thread, this is where I called that those interfaces that I exported from my library from ENS TCP library. So as you can see, we can see here the open server. So in my case, I use the port 0611. And here, this is the function here in the main program. So I pass the pointer to this function inside that open server so that the point of this function, this is a callback function, so that every time there's new connection, it will receive, in this case, this is a void pointer, but actually, this is the socket. So every time there is a new client connected to the server, that object was created inside the library, but in order to access that, that is why I created an abstract class. So it becomes an interface here in the main application. So just do casting. So there, when there is new connection, so the server here, the server application will send this chat message to the client. Later, we will have a demonstration because right now I just have a PATI program. No? We will use a PATI program as the client. Okay, so to test our server if it is working. So here, I also, so in my dialog here, I created like a pointer to a list of clients that will be connected in this server. So as you can see, every time there's a new connection, I will push this to the array of vectors, okay, and display connected clients. So the implementation here, display here. So it will fill up the the client that is connected in this area. Okay. So, and again, once there is a new connection, I created another thread. So in this case, one thread per client connected. So I'm creating multi-threading here. So handle client thread function. So this is the implementation. So in this case, I pass the socket object, the client that is connected in this thread. So here, so what this function do? It will broadcast to all the connected clients that there is a new client that's connected our conversation. So the purpose of this, so that is why I also get the list of all the clients connected so that I could send a broadcast message to all the clients. That's the main point. So let's say if the client is disconnected, this while loop will return false. It becomes empty. The data becomes empty. It will terminate. Or if there is any problem within the connection, so I have a try catch exception handling because in the implementation of my send and receive, if there is any connection issue, it will throw some exception. So that after this loop will terminated, so the client, after the client disconnected, I will also update send message here. I will update the text area that this certain client has left this conversation and remove that client from the master list. And again, display what are the clients connected left and eventually close that client connection so that there will be garbage collection of this object because this was created. Okay. So I think that's the main purpose of this program. So right now, let's run the program. Okay, so here, so it is already running. So let me start my PATI programs. So let's try to create a multi-PATI. So because I need to test a multi-client handling. So in my case here, I just created already the default settings. I just name it to Lorenzo so that I could connect. Okay, so okay, so this client is already connected. As you can see, it is updated here in the list of clients connected and there. Then let's check this client. It's there. This client just joined and it broadcasts to those who are connected before. So here, let's check this. There. So just join the conversation and last here. Okay. So just for the sake of illustration, okay, let's make this organized. Okay. Let's try. What if the server can also send message? Hello, guests. How are you? So if you click send, there, it broadcasts to all clients. Then this client replied, hi, server. I am fine, thank you. So what happened? It broadcasts to all who just joined. Okay. So what if this client will exit? So it will also notify all that that client uh, is uh, disconnected. We are all fine. Okay. God bless you. Keep safe, everyone. Bye. So here, there, there, and there. All right. So I think that's a simple chat, a server program. Hope I have given you some inputs about how to organize a dynamic link library and how to export uh, C++ functions using an abstract class. And I also showed you about socket programming and how to organize your library using a callback function. Okay, that's all and have a great day.